Hey guys, so earlier today I did a video about Kyungmin Lee and his kind of battle against people who are defending porn versus people that want reasonable regulations in place to try and prevent children from having access to it. Now, here's what I'm going to respond to. Now, there's two people that are involved in this one that I'm going to respond to. Zach from Asmongold. Now, Asmongold, before we get into it, if you do end up watching this, all the respect to the world. I love what you're doing with a lot of different issues. I think you're right on a lot of issues. I think you're wrong on some issues. But with that being said, I think it's responsible for us to push back on people who have a lot of influence when we see it happen, right? Now, what we're going to do, again, this is not edited. There's nothing. This is just my take right off. So I'm going to read this first, get to what it's saying, and then we'll talk about what Zach's problem is with it. Comment starts, I didn't realize banning porn was such an unpopular position on the right. My mentions are full of people calling me evil authoritarian for wanting to ban hardcore pornography, which is absolutely a reasonable thing to talk about. I get your concerns about government overreach. I don't, because the government already has all of the access to everything they possibly could need to censor you. They don't need digital ID. Anyone who's familiar with government systems, which I am, who has been involved in these things, knows the government doesn't need digital ID to control your very lives. And there's nothing banks are going to do. There's nothing crypto is going to do. There's nothing that they can do to prevent that, okay? The only way to prevent it is to have a moral government in place, which is why you need moral agents in society. And you're not going to get moral agents in society if you get people addicted to pornography and they're so hyper-focused on that. Read Brave New World. Addicted people to these things are slaves, okay? They're easy to control. And one of the ways they're easy to control is because pornography, based on all the available science, and if anyone is interested, and Asman, if you watch this, or Kyungmin Lee, or anyone who watches this, go watch John Doyle's. He has two videos that he did, but the second one is, in my opinion, much better. He has two videos where he shows how corrosive pornography is, not just on society, but on the individual and on the brain. The science on how harmful pornography is to the brain is astronomical. There's tons of it. And it's not even really debatable anymore that porn is almost, one could argue, more harmful than hardcore drugs. It's more addictive. It has more harmful effects on you, not just on the body, but if you are a Christian or if you're someone who believes in the afterlife, on the soul. It is a corrosive ill on society. Now, that being said, he goes on to saying that, and then no one is saying banning porn will get rid of it forever. No, there's no possible to get rid of it. Human nature doesn't change. But politics exists to impose what we believe to be good, and we can leverage power for the betterment of the individual communities and nation. He's absolutely correct. This idea of a moral neutrality that libertarians is fundamentally dishonest. Because you have to believe that the highest good is ensuring maximum autonomy. And I reject that premise. The highest good, alarm. The highest good is ensuring maximum autonomy, and I reject that premise. The highest good is goodness, beauty, and truth. Freedoms are a means to achieve that for every individual and for the nation. And sometimes freedom can be a hindrance to that. And that's why certain freedoms should be curtailed. People, technically, can someone have the freedom to inject drugs into their body and destroy their lives? Of course. But is that good for the nation and for society and for their families? No. So that freedom, the freedom of bodily autonomy, is restricted in that sense. Okay? It's a totally consistent principle here. Governing authorities are not inherently evil. He's absolutely correct. Existing political power is not inherently evil. Libertarian is politically and morally untenable. And the reason it's untenable is because we don't live in a utopian society. We have sin and evil. And mass democracy leads to chaos and degeneracy. This is demonstrably true historically. I am a right-wing traditionalist, not a liberal. I've been clear about this for many years. And anyone who knows Kyungmin, which I know him, have met him, he absolutely is a right-wing traditionalist. He is not a liberal. I don't believe in burning bridges with anyone who I consider a friend or ally against a greater enemy. But it's a bit sad to see people denounce me over a very normie belief. It's a very common belief, by the way. Banning pornography is not like some extreme right-wing position. A lot of parents would love to see better controls out there and better things. And yes, should the parents be more responsible? Yes. But most parents don't have the technical know-how or the time to be managing all of this stuff, okay? And in my first video that I went over, it's just not really feasible to ask parents to be able to do that without giving them proper controls. We should ban pornography. A few of the founding fathers and most Americans had until about 40 years ago, which is absolutely true as well. I mean, was the country less free or more free? I would argue that in a lot of ways it was more free. Not every way, but in a lot of ways it was more free 40 years ago than we have today. The government had less control over us. We were less taxed. We are less. There was less government regulations over our day-to-day lives, and yet pornography was illegal. I'm open to speaking with any creator about this. I'm always open to talking about these ideas instead of past each other. And Kyung-min is willing to talk to people about this, and they should have him on about this. The side that wants to win will always beat the side that wants to be left alone, by the way. This is just the political reality. And he's talking about this with the left. The left will impose their views on you, even if you want to be left alone. You have to impose your ideas on the other. Otherwise, you're doomed to fail. As I'm engaging with y'all, I think we might be fundamentally arguing semantics. When I say ban, don't mean fully get rid of the internet porn. It's not possible or feasible for obvious reasons. I'm not a fan of digital ID. When I say ban, all I want is for companies and people who produce and distribute porn to face legal penalties and just shut down these massive companies like OnlyFans, ManGeek, and all the rest. Treat it like prostitution and just arrest those who create and distribute it openly. We can also try and blacklist to the best of our ability, never perfectly, any sites. Well, you could just do whitelisting, but that would require a lot of work and it would require a lot of oversight. And that's right now the government just isn't able to do that, nor do I trust the government as it currently stands to do that. Yes, I get that black market exists and will emerge as it always has, but putting an end to open glorification and proliferation of porn like this will help mitigate its reach to the average person. Penalizing consumption of pornography today would also not be feasible without massive overreach, as that's not what I'm advocating for. That's where good parenting comes in. There's always a way to fight the scourge of porn using political power without the implementation of digital ID. I don't want the government tracking my data and internet usage either. The government already does that, Kyung-min, so it's kind of a neither here nor there. You either use government power for your benefit or you don't. The government already has access to everything. They're already tracking all your stuff. They already can track all of your stuff. It doesn't matter if you have crypto. It doesn't matter what you have. If you have a digital footprint at all, they're tracking you. Okay, period. Or they can track you. The government's too bloated and bureaucratic to track every single person. They track individuals that meet certain criteria or set off certain alarm bells using algorithms. Now, Zach says, Asmongold, I think the arguments for banning porn can be applied to cigarettes and especially alcohol too. No, they can't, because they're not even remotely the same thing. We already have, by the way, we have regulations on alcohol and cigarettes enforced by the government. Okay, a 18-year-old can't go and order cigarettes on Amazon, right? He can't access a free site to order cigarettes. He can't access a free site to drink alcohol, right? They're physical items that we can regulate and make sure that, or at least prevent to the best of our ability, children from accessing from too early of an age. Now, again, there needs to be stronger punitive measures for parents who allow their kids to have access to these things, in my opinion, irresponsibly. But that's another question entirely. Internet porn is overtly used and free to access for literally anyone, from the smallest of smartphones to your Google Watch nowadays. It's so easy and widespread, and there's no ability to block kids from accessing it. And by the way, just don't consume porn. Is porn this is it this fundamental freedom that we have to have in a society? Doesn't make any sense. If you want to fap off, go pay for a prostitute to come do a striptease for you. At least they regulate kids from getting inside there. They don't let under 18-year-olds go and fap off to a stripper, right? Or a prostitute. And by the way, prostitution is still illegal in most states. You're not allowed just to order a prostitute. Are we suddenly going to like have a conniption fit over that? Of course not. So regulating porn and asking these companies to implement the bare necessity for this stuff. By the way, you can do two things. You can implement a digital proof of ID, which everybody has, by the way. Everyone has a digital ID already. You already have Real ID. Most states have already adopted Real ID for their driver's license. If you drive or if you have any sort of state granted ID, you already have that. You're already in the system. So you showing it to a porn company is not going to make anyone lose sleep over it, okay? You giving it to a porn company so that you can consume your little porn, and some of it extremely graphic and degenerate porn, by the way, that kids have access to, is not going to, like, you're not going to lose anything over it. Meanwhile, we have everything to gain. Kids no longer have access, or at least easy access to these information. People say, oh, VPN. You can simply say, if you're a VPN that doesn't blacklist the major porn sites, we're not talking about, oh, there's obscure porn sites. You know, kids finding those are less common. We're talking about the easy to find, the biggest sites that have the least regulations on them. Like Kyungmin said, you're never going to ban all of it, but you want to maximize the amount of children that are not going to get access to porn by 9 years old. We have children that are addicted to porn at 9, 10, and 11 years old, guys. Sometimes even younger nowadays. We have kids experimenting with sex because they saw the act in porn at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. We have kids getting pregnant from each other because they're like, I saw this in a video, maybe we should try this out. It looks fun. What, we shouldn't ban that? Are we insane? Are we just pretending that this is not like a serious issue? Now we're going to continue here. In fact, they're even more because they're physically destructive also. No, alcohol can be responsibly taken and no one's gonna die over it. Yeah, over the course of 50 years, you might corrode your liver. Okay, well, you're going to die in 50 years anyways. If you're 30 and you're drinking if you're 21 and you start at a responsible age and you drink for 40 years and your liver starts corroding, you're already almost to the age, and honestly, 40 years is even much. Unless you're abusing alcohol like daily and you're not drinking responsibly, you're not corroding your liver in 40 years. You're talking like in your 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's like, okay, it's coming to hit me. Well, yeah, you're dying anyways at 70, 80, and 90. Even the healthiest individuals in the world get cancer and all sorts of other things, being as healthy as they possibly can, avoiding alcohol and everything else. I mean, come on. Sugar is actually more harmful for the human body than alcohol in a lot of ways. There's a lot of sugar in alcohol nowadays, though, to be fair, so I guess that's not entirely accurate. But I just don't buy it. And also, cigarettes can be avoided. And again, Zach Asmongold, we have common sense cigarettes and alcohol regulations already on the books. Very, very robust ones. Now, the fact that some states don't enforce them very well and the fact that we don't enforce them on a societal level, that's something that needs to be addressed. But, I mean, come on. Kyungmin responds. No, or actually, I want to finish this. Ultimately, it's important to choose. Individuals are free to choose and pursue what they want in life. Are individuals free to just go and commit suicide? Actually, no, it's illegal to commit suicide because we as a society understand you shouldn't be committing suicide. You're going to be involuntarily put into therapy if you try and commit suicide and you're not successful. They're not going to say, oh, well, is there freedom? No, we're going to try and save you. Like you slit your throat and the medics find you, they're going to try and save you even if you tried committing suicide. Even if you were like bleeding out and you're like, no, let me die, they're going to stop you. You don't have freedom to choose what you want in life. If you want to die, you don't have the choice for that. We as a society have decided, no, you don't get to choose that. Now, what does Kyungmin go on to say? I don't think banning cigarettes would be awful, but we also... Okay, yeah, you already said that in a previous line. I get the line of reasoning, but porn isn't a substance you need to go out of your way to buy. It's everywhere and accessible to anyone at any age with internet connection. Children are hooked at it at such a young age, and it completely destroys your soul for those who get consumed by it and those who participate in its production. If parents aren't adequately protecting their children from it, and a large segment of the adult population is addicted to it too, I think it's reasonable to use politics and power to mitigate its hold on society. Freedom cannot be untethered from virtue, or else it will be completely destroy the individual and, by extension, society. He's absolutely 100% correct here. 100%. Children should not have access to it. I don't think that is a controversial thing to say, and I think having, at minimum, the same level of regulations that we have on cigarettes and alcohol should be applied to porn. At minimum. I personally would have it banned altogether because I just see there's no net benefit. Cigarettes, you could argue, oh, there's the nicotine in it can spike certain things. It can help with weight loss. It can help with all sorts of things. Alcohol is a social drink. It can help bond people in society. It helps build relationships and things like that, and it can be consumed responsibly without getting drunk. And for most of human history, actually, it was consumed responsibly without getting drunk. You know, people weren't just going out having benders every single night. You know what I mean? So, anyways, those are my thoughts. Sorry, Asmongold, if this was long and long-winded, but I just don't see how this is even an argument. I don't see why anyone would say children having access to this is at all relevant. I think Asman responded in another way too. Oh, you won't. He responds here too. I want to respond to this real quick. You won't achieve any ban on online porn without real digits. That's not true. There's all kinds of ways you can do it. Any other solution won't actually work. Even then, you would need an effective ISP whitelist for websites because new ones would be created without restrictions. And that's kind of true, but effective blacklists and effective AI algorithms that can monitor new sites that are registered, you don't actually have to do that. You can just go to GoDaddy. You can go to all these major domain registration sites and just simply say porn sites need to they need to be verified before they can be added onto the internet, right? You already have to wait 48 hours for your website, 24 to 48 hours for your website to be approved, that it's a legitimate website and things like that. There's no harm in that. Now, of course, there will be people that create their own servers, that create it publicly available, but at that point, it's so obscure and so deep into the abyss of the internet that children are simply not going to find it with ease. And that is what we're trying to prevent. We're not trying to say that no adult ever is going to find their way around it. If they want it, they're going to get it. But we need to restrict it as much as possible for the sake of society. All this is working to accommodate bad parenting. It is not bad parenting. There's a lot of parents that just don't have the technical know-how to restrict their kids in a way that is responsible. My daughter goes out and plays with her friends, and if one of her friends has a parent that doesn't care about porn and shows that to my daughter, I have no recourse for that. My daughter has now seen something that she cannot unsee. It damages the brain. Worse than drugs. Again, look at the John Doyle video. Again, Asman, people, please. John Doyle, Heck Off Commie, that's his YouTube channel. Heck Off Commie, it was a couple years ago, he did a long form video on pornography and its effects on the brain and on society. It's just, there's no benefit to it at all. And yes, there are bad parents. But as a society, we care about children, even if they have bad parents. I happen to be a good parent. I try and stop my child from having it. I'm in IT. I'm in cybersecurity. I know how to restrict it. But there's still ways around it because other parents are not responsible and cell phones are everywhere. Kids have cell phones now. Some kid could be outside and say, look what my dad was watching this. Look at this. And they show it. My daughter's now been permanently scarred because we don't put reasonable restrictions. Now, of course, there's still exceptions, but your average kid is not going to find around those exceptions. There are reasonable regulations the government can put in place that don't require digital ID. So, and reasonable as in, like, you're going to block 95% of children who get access to it. And that's what we need. That's all we need. Because then you put social shame on it. It's a hidden, dark thing that you have to go and do in the corner. And it's gross. Right now, it's so open and so duplicitous everywhere. Or so, I'm not duplicitous, but so common everywhere. that it's easily accessible for Killington. That's just unacceptable. So good on Common for doing this. Asman, love you, brother. I'll continue to consume your content. But yeah, this is just not a winner. This is that libertarian in you. Sorry, brother. You're not going to win on this from the right. Just not going to happen, because we actually have a core argumentation that doesn't just revolve around the individual. Individuals always lose to the collective in the long run. And that's just the reality of the situation. So either you come alongside us and say, okay, there are reasonable areas that we can restrict this and we can work together on that, or you're going to lose. And you're going to lose it all. Because the left did this for decades. The left did this for decades and allowed it to go out of control. And now we have a whiplashing effect. And either you work to mediate that, or you see it go out of control. God bless, guys. Have a wonderful day. Like, share, and subscribe. You know the drill.